What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Just How I See It. Now, we got to get those housekeeping rules out of the way. First, I need you to go to my YouTube page at Just How I See It. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your people. Also, I need for you to go to my IG page, Just How _ I See It, as well as my TikTok page at Studio Head Chris. Now, let's get into tonight's topic. That may get me in a little bit of hot water, but I'm only doing it because I love you. And what I want to talk to you tonight about is growing up in the South, Mississippi and Georgia. Obviously, I am an African American male. And in my household, my parents showed me and my sister a lot of stuff about our history. We did a lot of things that surrounded our history. And I think that's a good thing because what it does is it allows you to know where you come from. It gives you a sense of pride. It gives you a sense of importance. It gives you a sense of to excel because you want to make sure that you continue to make not only yourself proud, your parents proud, but those that came before you, that their work was not in vain. And which all of that I think is good. But over the past couple of years, and just in different conversations about different um, current events, what I've come to find out is that a lot of us as African Americans have begun to base our morality and our um, our sense of what's good and evil simply based off of our ethnicity, and that's just not right. Now, white people, you ain't off the hook because over time you have thought that because you were simply white, and I'm not talking about all white people, but I'm talking about a lot, that you deserve certain things and get to behave a certain way simply because of your race. And that ain't right. And it's not right because it opposes black people. It's not right because it ain't how God made all of us to be. You are not blessed simply because you are white. You are not blessed simply because you're black. You are blessed simply because God chooses to. And it has nothing to do with your race. And black people, we are not blessed because white people have, and we don't. We are not blessed because we've taken our eyes off the important thing that has blessed us throughout our history, and that is God. Right is not based off your color. Right is not based off your ethnicity. Right is simply based off of what God deems as right or wrong. I know this because, yes, I'm a Christian. Absolutely. And so, because of that, I do a little reading in the Word, the Bible. And I know some people that may watch this, man, I ain't believe in God. And I hate to put it this way, but you probably won't understand because you have an issue with God already. So, you can still listen, but I'm probably not going to make a bunch of sense to you because that's just not how you view it. That's not how you see it. But in the book of Acts, there was a man called Peter. Peter was one of Jesus' disciples, an apostle, Peter. And at this point, there was a guy by the name of Cornelius that God visited him in a dream and told him that he was going to send him some money to help him based off the good things that he had done. And so in comes Peter, and Cornelius tells him, "Hey, I brought you here because it is. So whatever you say, we'll listen," basically. And so one of the first things that Peter says, which I'll read for you, so I'm just not quoting stuff just off the top of my head, and you like, okay, this dude don't know what he's talking about. One of the first things that Peter said in Acts chapter 10, at verse 34, he says, "Most certainly I understand now that God is not one to show partiality to people as though Gentiles were excluded from God's blessing, but in every nation, the person who fears God, in every nation, the person who fears God and does what is right by seeking him is acceptable and welcome by him." Now, this is what Peter said. Well, now I know I got some people that said, well, Jesus didn't say it. So that was Peter talking. Bet. Now, one of the first things I came across that basically Jesus foreshadowed what Peter was saying. First, I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. And it says, "So that you may know," this is Jesus talking, "show yourselves to be the children of your Father who is in heaven, for he makes his sun rise on those who are evil and those who are good, and makes the rain fall on the righteous, those who are morally upright, and the unrighteous, the unrepentant, those who oppose him." That means God chooses who to bless and who not to bless, who he allows to be blessed, and who he not allows to be blessed. And none of that is based off of your race. Now, furthermore, Jesus said in chapter 12, starting with verse 47, and Jesus said, someone said to him, "Look, your mother and your brothers are standing outside asking to speak with you." But Jesus replied to the one who told him, "Who is my mother and who are my brothers?" And stretching out his hand towards his disciples and all his other followers, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father who is in heaven, believing in me and following me, is my brother and sister and mother." None of that is predicated off race. It is simply predicated off of who believes in God. And what I found out is that, again, like I said before, is that a lot of what we do or disagreement isn't based off what's right or wrong, based off of what God says. It's based off of what our culture says, or what our ethnic group says, or what our race says, even if it goes against the word of God. Now, recently, we've had two celebrity deaths. And one was Malcolm Jamal Warner, which affected me deeply. And another was Hulk Hogan. And as I'm looking through the pages of social media, I see very, very contrast responses to both of their deaths. And for Malcolm, and God willing, I'm praying that it is so. I didn't know him personally, but I pray that he had his life right with God before he left this earth. And I'm going to assume, because I hadn't heard a whole lot of bad things about him, that I'm going to assume that he is with our Father in heaven. I'm hoping and praying that that is the case. But I saw a lot of people believing that that would be the case, and that he's now in heaven with the former co-star of his on one of his shows. And believing that he left behind his wife and his daughter. And so a lot of good things about Malcolm. But the contrast of it, there's Hulk Hogan. And keep in mind, I understand Hulk has a lot of evidence that says he shouldn't be liked, especially by the African American ethnic group or race. Because I forgot what year it was, but there was a tape that came out, him going off on his daughter about being with a black guy, and going off on his son, using the N word and things like that. And so I get it. I absolutely do. But I also notice a lot of people saying that the man is going to hell, and that the man, and because of those statements. Now, the reason why the Hulk will go to hell isn't because he used the N word. They just put it to you this way. But the reason why the Hulk will go to hell, Hulk Hogan will go to hell, is because if he held hate in his heart, not just another black person, but he held hate in his heart for a person, period. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever it may be. Because the root of that hate, the root of that using those kind of racial slurs in it, is there's a hate and unforgiveness that, heck, he may have been taught when he was young. But regardless of the fact, those are what those words exemplify. Is there's an unforgiveness, there's a hate, there's a disdain, and those are the things that God don't like if he is to go to hell. But I know that a lot of African Americans dislike him, basically spit on his name today because of his racial slurs toward us as an ethnic and a ethnic group and a race. And again, I understand it. But here's the thing. Even in saying those things, even in believing those things at this point, Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, I think his last name is, if on his deathbed, repented to God for all of those actions and words, he gets to go to heaven. And if you go to heaven, you gonna see him there. If that's what happens. And to be honest with you, I hope he repented. I hope that he repented for those sins. Because I don't want nobody to go to hell. I don't have that kind of unforgiveness in my heart. Do I like those statements? No, I don't. Because yes, it speaks against the group, the race that I belong to. And nobody should have that kind of hate in their heart for a person. But I'm not going to walk in unforgiveness and be in trouble with God myself because it offended my ethnic group, especially if he got it right with God. Then who am I to hold him hostage if God has set him free? Now, on the flip side, with Malcolm Jamal Warner, and like I said before, I hope and pray that he did have it right. But let's not assume because he was black and because we didn't hear about any bad things about Malcolm, that Malcolm automatically gets to go to heaven simply because he's black. Because he doesn't. Simply because he was only known for good things. I want Malcolm in heaven too. Not because he was black, just because he was black. I want him to go to heaven because he gave himself to Christ. He gave himself to God. That's why. That he left that legacy with his daughter as well. And with his wife as well. I want them both there. Because if you're there, that means you got it right. That means your heart has been cleansed. That means you forgave and walked in forgiveness and you let go of the hate. That means you believed. And that's why I want them there. Like, just because you're black does not make you right. Just because you're white doesn't make you right. Just because you're black doesn't make you wrong. Just because you're white doesn't make you wrong. No matter your race, right or wrong is right and wrong. And the only way to be right is to be right with God. Now, you may take what I just said is absolutely right. And you may take everything I just said is absolutely wrong. But to be honest with you, I don't care how you take it. But what I will say to you is, no matter how you take what I just said, you make sure you take it to God. On that note, that's just how I see it. See you next time.